and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. I'm David OC and today we're reviewing the facelifted Audi Q5. Now, I'd like to know your thoughts on the colour. This is District Green Metallic and personally I'm a big fan. A few people have actually come up to me and told me they really like the colour and asked me where did I get it wrapped. However, this is a factory paint and I'm a big fan, but let me know your thoughts in the comment. Now, as I said, this is facelifted, so there's a couple subtle changes which we will be discussing in this video. However, if you would like to search for brand new Audis for sale from our trusted dealer network of over 1,000 dealers nationwide, then hit the link on the top right hand corner of the screen. The facelift, what has changed? Well, it's a facelift, so there's no dramatic changes. However, there are 4 changes: the rear, the side, the front, and the interior. So let's begin by the rear. So this stripe along the back here, now I actually think the predecessor had a very similar one. However, I'm led to believe that's new. The light, so that's a big change. They've got a sleeker style, and actually on the higher spec ones, you have the option to get OLED, which makes them really bright, really coherent, and you can actually pick your pattern. And then down here on the bottom of the bumper has also changed with some exhaust, which we will be discussing about in more detail shortly. From the side, again, not a whole lot has changed. However, the most prominent change is the fact that there are new wheel options, and yes, you can spend your life savings by upgrading your wheels. Another little feature is this strip along here, and on all versions now, I'm led to believe that it is color-coded bumper around the wheel arch. From the front, you have now the option to get matrix headlights. Probably not one I would spec, as it is a lot of money and it's probably not worth it. But the biggest difference is here on the grille. So they've made it a little bit shorter, a little bit wider. So it's got more of a little bit of a grin as it drives down the road. And the fourth and last change is in here, the cockpit, the screen. It's all changed ever so slightly, which leads me into reviewing the cockpit. As you sit as a driver, what is it like? And it is really nice. Being an Audi, it does make you feel very special. So to begin with, the seats, they're very comfortable. Obviously, they're completely adjustable. So if you want that really high SUV feel, you can lift them up. Or if you want to be a bit sporty, you can lower them down. And continuing on that sports theme, the steering wheel. I think Audi are probably doing the best steering wheels. Maybe Mercedes are up there, but I do think they're being pipped at the post by Audi for the last couple of years. So it is really nice. Then in terms of storage, your usual glove box, it's quite big. You've got storage under here with an adjustable armrest, which I really like. 2 drink holders there, which is quite nice. Now you can pay about €670 and get a cover for that, which allows you to have wireless charging. That could be worth doing if you're interested in having your phone fully charged all the time. If not, there is a USB charging port here. I actually quite like this little kind of storage spot there for your phone. More storage in here, and the door bins are plenty big. So in terms of storage, it is really nice, and everything is kind of just as simple as it gets. The heated seat, steering wheel's there. In fact, all the climate control buttons are all here. They're all physical buttons, which I really like. And interestingly, in something like the Audi A6, which we reviewed, they didn't actually have that. It was 2 screens, but now Audi are almost going back to the old school ways and putting their climate control as buttons. And we're seeing that even in cars like the Audi e-tron GT. Now, the infotainment system. So this screen, I actually don't know the exact measurement. I'm going to say it's 10 to 11 inches, maybe 12 inches, but it is really good. So it's completely touchscreen. They've gone away from the kind of swivel wheel down here and they've moved it to a completely touch system. It works really well. And what I absolutely love about it is that Audi have made it wireless Apple CarPlay. However, if you're an Android user, I'm sorry, you are again not supported by the leading brands and you will have to plug in your wire. But as a whole, the whole infotainment system works really well. Now over here in front of me, I actually have old school analog dials. Now there is a little bit of a digital display in the front. However, there is the option, and it's about €500 or €600 to get the Audi virtual cockpit. And that is a box that I would absolutely tick. I think Audi, Volkswagen Group as a whole, they absolutely nail it. and it is well worth speccing. Now, two other small things in here that I will note is there's a sunroof here, and it's really nice, really good. You can completely block it out with the blind, or you can have it the whole way open. On those summer days, it is really nice, and there's even ISOFIX points here in the front. So let's say you just had a little bit too much fun in lockdown, you can still have 3 children in this car. 2 ISOFIX points in the rear and 1 in the front. For rear passengers, it is good news. Now, it is no secret that I'm an extortionately tall lad, and yet I have good headroom despite the panoramic sunroof. And that's one thing I will say, if you're buying a Q5 or any SUV, I know it's expensive, but it will brighten up the car and in turn brighten up your day. So definitely consider speccing that. Knee room loads, you've a bit of climate control, 12-volt socket, and you have a nice armrest here. Now, we don't get cup holders here in Ireland, but in the UK we do, and it's all to do with the high VRT rates. So if you're watching from the UK, you probably thought the virtual cockpit comes free or as standard with all Q5s. However, unfortunately in Ireland, sometimes we get the short end of the stick. Now, other features in here, as I said, it's really comfortable. Third passenger has a huge floor lump, but that's actually okay. And then last but not least, we have ISOFIX points for the other 2 kids. Now, these things, although they're very accessible, I've actually been in a few kind of Audi dealership cars on test drives, and these are missing because they're so easy to lose. And you know how frantic life can be with young kids, so you're not going to think, I wonder where I place this. So just one thing to bear in mind, but as a whole in here, it is a nice place to be. Now, before we check out boot space, I want to ask you guys a question, because on Instagram, before every car review goes live, we do a bit of a Q&A, and someone asked, are the exhausts real? Now, let me know what you think the answer is. I don't know if you're correct or incorrect, but the exhausts are all for show. Now, in the inside of the boot, we have an electronic tailgate, which is really nice. You've a bit of a cover here, which means you can hide things in the boot. In terms of practicality, well, it's square. There's no weird entries. It's very easy to load stuff in, load stuff out. There's only a tiny load lip here, so it's very handy. And it's 550 litres, so it's basically more or less the exact same size as a Mercedes GLC and a BMW X3. Now, what type of person are you? Are you a Mercedes person, BMW, Audi? I feel like everyone just chooses a brand and they stick with it. So let us know in the comments, would you choose the X3 or the GLC over the Q5? Now, other features, you've got a bit of storage in here, you've got tie-down hooks, and you've got this false floor. Now, there's little bits of storage under there. There should be a spare wheel, but there isn't. And I'm very fond of getting punctures, so I definitely think a spare wheel would be a really nice addition. However, unfortunately there's not one. But we'll let Audi slide with that because there is a lot of practicality. And actually, one more thing I forgot to show you is at the pull of a button, the seat. I always seem to struggle with this in Volkswagen Group cars, but you can fold it down from the rear. You don't have to go around to the side, which is a very nice feature. Now, let's take it for a drive. Now, to drive the Audi Q5. So, as we mentioned earlier, you can get your seating position, the steering wheel, into the perfect place. Personally, I like to sit nice and low, but it is an SUV, so you might like to get yourself nice and high. Now, this particular one is the 35 TDI. So prices start at about 57,000 euros, and that is a 2-litre turbocharged diesel engine. It puts out about 163 brake horsepower, which is enough, particularly around town. It's got lots of low-end torque. However, once you get out onto the country roads, it does feel a little bit underpowered. When you put your foot down, there's not all that much pushing you forward. So I would recommend upgrading to the 40 TDI, which is again the same 2-litre diesel engine. However, it's got a little bit of a different kind of engine map. It puts in different amounts of fuel to make sure that it gets a little bit more power, making it 204 brake horsepower, and that comes Quattro. Now, the 4-wheel drive system, it will make it a little bit less fuel efficient. However, you're trading having that 4-wheel driveness for that, which, being a 4-wheel drive, being an SUV, I think it's worth having. Also, the Quattro system works really well, that it primarily uses front wheel drive, and actually only when you need to have four wheel drive or any kind of drivetrain through the rear wheels, it will send it that way. So it is very, very good in that respect. In terms of driving aids, well, when you're reversing and you're parking, you've got your reversing camera. It works really well. Parking sensors front and rear. Again, we're used to these. We expect these in every kind of fancier premium car we get into. Now, two things worth noting. So adaptive cruise control, which effectively means when the car in front of me slows down the motorway, my car slows down. That is a €1,000 extra, but in my opinion, that is €1,000 well spent. Now, I think you can spend another 1,200 or 1,400 to get lane assist. Personally, I don't think that's a necessity. I'd actually put my money in to getting maybe the virtual cockpit or the sunroof, and then just making sure that you have the adaptive cruise control. But overall, it's absolutely lovely to drive. It's not that big, so it's obviously an SUV, but it doesn't feel uncomfortably big. I actually live around some tight roads, and I wasn't nervous about hitting my wing mirrors or curbing my wheels, so it is quite easy to drive in that respect. And as a whole, the infotainment system works. You've got a volume knob, which I really like. Steering wheel's good, and everything about it just feels very pleasant to drive. At this point in every review, once we're back from the drive, we discuss some of our favourite and least favourite things. Now, after driving this car for 4 or 5 days, there's only been one thing that's kind of niggled or bugged me, and it's the pedals. So, first of all, the pedals aren't mounted from the floor, they're mounted from up top, which means that actually once or twice I've gone to accelerate and my foot has actually slipped right off the accelerator. So that's fine with the accelerator, but I would worry if that ever happened with the brake. And the second issue is actually with the brake pedal. There's a bit of a noise, and I notice it as I'm driving along, and in such a premium car, it's unusual to hear that little noise. So as I take my foot off the brake, there's almost a little spring noise, which is very unusual. Now, other than that small little bee under my bonnet, here are a couple of the really nice features on the Q5. And number one is the heated seats. So like many cars, there's 3 different settings: really, 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 really hot, medium hot, and not hot at all. But when I say really, 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 really hot, I mean really, really, really hot. It would literally burn the bum off you. Number 2 is when you unlock and lock the car at night time, you get a little bit of a dance from the lights. Number 3, now this isn't specific to the Q5, and actually it's probably been around since the mid-2000s. However, on all Volkswagen Group cars, when you hold down the unlock button, the windows should open. Yes, and even more cleverly, when you lock the door and hold down the button, the windows close. I don't know about you, but I think that is pretty cool. Well, there you have it. That is DoneDeal's review of the facelifted Audi Q5. We hope you've enjoyed the video. We've hoped that most importantly you've learned something from it. If you've ever owned a Q5, an X3 or a Mercedes GLC, then let us know your thoughts, what you like, what you dislike, and any kind of insight that you do have. And of course, if you'd like to search for Audi Q5s for sale in Ireland from our trusted dealer network, then hit the link up there on the top right hand corner of the screen. But for now, that's all from us, and we'll see you in the next video. So please make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.